Today, we'll be making our own worry dolls. Traditionally, you are more likely to find that they are female dolls, but you can make yours any way that you want. Start with a wooden clothespin and a piece of pipe cleaner that is about 2.5 inches long. An adult should use hot glue to attach the pipe cleaner to the clothespin by putting it on just below the rounded part, but not in that narrow indent. Make sure that it is positioned perpendicular to the opening in the pin. You'll need at least 2 colors of embroidery thread for wrapping. Tie the end of the first color around the indented part of the clothespin, basically where the doll's neck would be. Make sure to secure it with a really strong knot. Keep the knot at the back of the worry doll. The back is where the hot glue is applied. As you're wrapping, you're going to tuck the loose end in. Hold on to the long end of the thread and wrap that across the torso by passing it over the right arm and then under the left arm at least 3 times. Then go up from underneath and do the opposite direction. The thread will be crisscrossed over the arms and over the pipe cleaner. This will hold that pipe cleaner more securely in place. Next, continue to wrap the upper torso by wrapping the thread around and around and around, first in the area over the arms and then in the area that goes under the arms. Try not to leave any gaps. Wrap until you get to what would be the waist or middle of the doll. Then you should be ready to change colors. To change colors, tie a second color on using a knot. I like to use an overhand loop when making my knot. Continue wrapping while tucking in the loose thread until you get to the opening, which is basically where the legs will be for the doll. The wrapping is going to change a little bit here into more of a figure 8 motion. You want to start by wrapping around the outside of one leg and then passing the thread between the 2 legs in the opening. Then wrap around the other leg and then go back again between the 2, alternating back and forth in a figure 8 motion while keeping the thread really taut and avoiding any gaps. It's okay to change your hand position or how you're holding the clothespin to any way that works best for you to wrap the thread. As you get to near the bottom of the clothespin and the end of the thread, remember to leave some room for the bottom of the clothespin to become the doll's feet. Also remember to leave enough loose end on the thread to be able to tie it off. To tie off the thread, you're going to pull the end through the last wrapped piece. You can then secure this with a little dot of hot glue so that it doesn't come undone. With the hot glue holding the loose end in place, you can grab some scissors and just snip off the extra length. Next, use your preferred colored yarn to add some hair. Thicker yarn will require fewer strands. Thinner yarn may need more strands. The strands should be about 6 inches long, especially if you want to make long hair or braided hair, and about 2 inches long if you want to make shorter hair. You can wrap the yarn around your hand or a piece of cardboard or a ruler. If you're using a ruler like I am in the video, remember that a ruler is 12 inches long. I can wrap the yarn around 2 times and get 4 12-inch strands and then cut that in half to get the 6-inch strands. If that doesn't seem to be enough hair, I can then measure and cut more strands. Now we need to bind all of these strands together. So place a single strand onto the table. Place the bunch of strands onto the center or as close to center as possible over that single strand. Use the single strand to tie the bunch securely together with a knot. Secure the yarn to the head of the clothespin with a dot of hot glue. Now you can use scissors to trim the hair or shorten it, or you can also tie the hair into pigtails or a ponytail or a braid. But if you do make pigtails or a ponytail or a braid, you might have to trim the ends again just to make sure that they're even. With the hair styled, you're now ready to add a face. A thin-tipped permanent marker works really well to carefully add facial features. Next, you will need a square of fabric or some fabric scraps. When working with students, I like to already have it cut into a smaller square. Then take your pattern template for the Worry Doll skirt and line up the longer edge against the longer edge of the fabric. Trace around it with a pencil, and then you have transferred your template onto the fabric. The skirt pattern is great because it can also be used as a cape. For the vest, you're going to line up the longer edge and the shorter edge to the corner of the fabric and then trace around the other two edges. Then just cut along your drawn lines. Take your time. On the vest pattern template, you'll notice that there are some vertical lines and a few X's. The vertical lines indicate where there should be folds in the fabric, and the X's indicate where there will be openings cut for the armholes. So to do that, you're just going to line your piece that you cut up with that and then try to fold so that it matches those lines. And then on those folds, you're going to use your scissors and make really teeny tiny snips where the X's are, just really small ones to be open enough to get the arms through. For a skirt, you can fold over the top edge to change the length, and then you just wrap it around and secure it with a dot of hot glue. If you're going to use this piece of fabric as a cape, you would just put the glue on the back instead. For the piece that we cut for the vest, you would slide the arms into the cut openings. And then you can fold over and make kind of like a collar or a lapel and secure that with hot glue as well. For this next extended step, you're going to need a 5-inch square piece of felt to make a little blanket for your worry doll and then a tapestry needle to stitch on some decorative designs. I like using a tapestry needle because it has a wide eye that easily fits the embroidery thread. So here's a little trick for threading your needle. You can use a paper threader, and you just fold the paper in half. And then we're going to open that up, put our embroidery thread in the middle, so it's almost like it's a sandwich. The other two ends are going to go through the eye of the needle, so you want to keep the pieces together and push them through, and then as you pull, voila, you've threaded your needle. And I always double strand, so this is a wingspan length, just by stretching out my arms to cut the thread, and then I like to double thread my needle, and we're just going to tie a knot at the end. And again, I'm just going to do the knot that crosses over and then goes back up through the loop. That's my preferred knot. It's not the only way to do it, but that's the way I prefer. A good beginner stitch for most students is going to be the running stitch, so that is the stitch that I'm going to demonstrate, and they can use this to make any kind of shape design on the fabric just by moving the stitching around in whatever direction they want. For the example, I'm just going to go around the border to make a square. So you're going to go up from the bottom and then down from the top, and then up from the bottom and down from the top, and up from the bottom and down from the top, and repeat this all the way around the entire border of the piece of felt. Be very careful. Check to make sure you're not tangling it or that it's not gathering on one side or the other. Be very careful not to pull the thread too tightly because you don't want to have your fabric bunch up, your felt bunch up. You want it to stay really flat. So just keep going back and forth from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top, trying to evenly space your stitches until you get all the way around back to where you began, and then you can tie it off with a knot. When the blanket is done, your worry doll can just kind of lay on top of it. It's a nice little cozy blanket. Or if you want to make two, you could actually do something a little bit more advanced and kind of make like a little sleeping bag for your worry doll and sew two of them together. But that's a little bit more of an advanced technique than a beginner student might be able to do.